My journey briefly started in Pakistan. First Nishtar, then Allahabad Medical College. I was 9 years in Europe, in Dublin, Ireland. 5 years I was in Boston. I did my training all over again, the alternate pathway. I did 5 fellowships instead of a residency and preliminary year. And then I went to Emory University, where I practiced 4 years, and then on to Canada, Vancouver General Hospital, where I'm in academia. I published 290 peer-reviewed manuscripts. My passion is leadership and equity and inclusion. I have contracts with Bloomsbury for a book series on leadership, contract with Elsevier for a book series on equity inclusion, and now I've signed a contract with Belgrave Macmillan for an additional book series. Glad to be here, and thank you for the invite. I'll pass on.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for being here, and thank you to the organizers for hosting us. I think innovations are tough to do, and I congratulate you on introducing this innovation. My name is Adnan Haider. When I was growing up in medical school, they said that when you fail clinical medicine, you go into community medicine. And that struck a chord in me because I was truly interested in public health. So the idea was to try and have a career that combined at that time my clinical interest in neurology and my research interest in public health. Somehow the neurology thing didn't work out, although I had a residency. But my career by intention was to get trained in public health, where I did my master's and PhD at Johns Hopkins University. And then I spent 21 years on the faculty at Johns Hopkins, building my research, education, and other career in academic. I am what is called a hardcore academic. I love rules and regulations about the academy. I now am privileged to be in a position where I actually develop those rules and implement them. But I do want to emphasize for all those young professionals that alternative careers are not a result when you fail. There are other mechanisms of dealing with failure, including notions of resilience. If you are truly interested through passion, through interest, through curiosity, whether you want to take over entrepreneurship, artificial intelligence in health, public health, whatever, that then is the pathway to pursue. So it's really important for you to understand the meaning of the word alternative. It truly means non-traditional. It doesn't mean because you couldn't do anything else. I look forward to a great conversation. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody. I'm Azhar Majid. I'm in clinical private practice for the last 20 years in my native Southern California. Thank you, Karim, for inviting us. My expertise was in innovation of private practice, medical groups, group formations, and what I have been a part of and been fortunate to have partners that have been involved with me. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to share with you guys.
Thank you so much for the opportunity and the great work with YPC. I've seen this, the group growing so fast over the last few years, and so much need there. Of course, a big credit is Vessel Lights running that. My name is Waqas Ahmed. I am a KU graduate in 2005, and I'm a nephrologist by profession, and currently leading started a company named American Telephysicians. As the name tells, technology. We started this journey out of passion to help my mother. Unfortunately, she passed away. She had a very prolonged illness, secondary to chronic liver disease. And after I was done with my fellowship in private practice, the idea, how can you be involved in your parents' health when they're away? She was, obviously, my parents were living in Pakistan, and this common scenario of not having able to get the blood work in time, the radiology testing, and online consultation, the appointments. At that time, there was no concept of online consultation. So I started thinking, how can you build something that while you're sitting here, you can essentially have healthcare services delivered at a low spend. This was in 2016. I became, after my fellowship in Portugal, I joined private practice, became partner, very lucrative career there. I started reading Forbes magazine and all the stories, how an idea like all the big companies, we always use with an Amazon, Uber, and all those things there. So what was really interesting to see, like all those people who started this, they obviously started at one idea. And a lot of people, especially the young ones, I know, like early 30s, you have an idea about how to bring that idea into the next action plan. There are a lot of other things, those are explained. So that led me to kind of, the biggest challenge or something was obstacle. Should I continue what I'm doing or should I focus on this? And the biggest decision for me was to resign from my private practice and start this venture back in 2017. And starting a project in Pakistan, establishing an IT company. And of course, that led me to kind of scale it. I was very humbled to be invited by United Nations, but we did a project there in Chicago, and then we brought the project in the US and so on. Where we are now, obviously, I'll discuss more details about what we're doing and for physicians. And essentially, I've transformed into now a technology-led incubator. If you are, young or a physician and have passion for innovation technology, rather than the reinvent that this is such a long journey. How can we essentially help to create those healthcare startups, which really help in two ways? One is, I always believe physicians are the best architect for the technology innovation, not necessarily the business legal side, but the architect. Because technology is kind of, just something everyone is there, everyone uses technology, and, it's essentially the builders that build a building, but it's about the architect design. And I think that's where physicians have a pretty big edge. They understand their specialty, every specialty is on makers. That's number one. And number two, I think is you always have a back-end support that, you still can practice while you're doing this. So certainly look forward to have more discussion, and of course, the ups and downs and challenges, and if you want to do discovery and all. Thank you.
Before Dr. Khobar speaks, I want to give a bit of the background. So, Dr. Khobar, there is a lot of interest in the community alternate pathways in biotech, biopharma, both from the physicians who have traditionally done residency as well as who have done residency and want to make a switch. So we're really, fortunate to have you on the channel. Thank you again, please.
Thank you. Assalamualaikum. Good morning, everyone. My name is Nashmia Khobar. First of all, again, thank you to the YPC committee, not just for inviting the panelists here, but starting this initiative and having these panels and these discussions. And hopefully afterwards, we'll get a good discussion and open it up to questions, because we'd really love to also learn from all of you and what you want to learn from us. So I'm a graduate of APPNA University, AKU in Karachi. After graduation, I will be very honest, I was not super enthused to do clinical medicine. I was trying to see now with my degree, what all can I apply it in? I landed up at Memorial Sloan Kettering in New York, ended up doing a postdoc there. And that is the first time that I realized that there's a whole world that exists in cancer biology. And I shouldn't even call it behind the scenes, but there's really so much that we can do and we can apply ourselves in. So over time, my passion became drug development. I did take a traditional route. I did residency, actually right here at Washington Hospital Center. From there on, I went to Northwestern, did a fellowship in oncology. And in oncology, my thought was, I want to do drug development. Now, what's the best path forward? Forums like this and discussions like this did not exist back then. It was hard to find mentors or people who had followed that path. And it was a little scary because I knew I'm not going to be doing clinical medicine, but how do I carve a path for myself in drug development? I joined a large pharma initially, J&J, Janssen Oncology. And I've been doing, drug development now, first in large pharma, and more recently I work for startup biotechs. And in the panel discussions, I can talk a lot more about specifically what physicians do. But something that, I think Adnan highlighted, and I'd like to highlight again, alternative, clinical paths or career paths are really not things to fall back on. They require a lot of hard work. They require a lot of passion. I hope, with this panel, we can think about that, traditional clinical medicine is the bread and butter of physicians. However, now in 2024, there are so many areas where you can apply your skills, where you can apply your knowledge, and so many things that you can do. But please do not think of it as, oh, I've burned out, or I don't, want to do clinical medicine anymore, or I failed at X, Y, and Z. These paths are really where you can apply your skills, your passions. My passion became, simply put, when people ask me, what do you do? I said, I'm trying to cure cancer. So I thought about what is the way I can apply myself to do that, looking at, my interests, my skill set, where I think I can apply myself. One anecdote I'll leave with all of you before I give the mic over to Han is that, what does that mean? So I had the privilege to work and lead the development program of a drug called Darzalex or daratumumab. That has changed the way we treat multiple myeloma. That has changed the whole prognosis of multiple myeloma. So that is the kind of impact that you can have. We, actually change the course of disease, change the way that it is treated, and totally change the treatment paradigm of the disease. So really, thinking about how can we apply ourselves in some of those things and really have that impact. That is my driving passion and why I do what I do.
And before Dr. Siddiqui speaks, I just want to thank him again. I'm a huge personal fan myself for all the work that Dr. Siddiqui has done in innovation. And I want to mention one thing that, so just through the YPC community page, just recently I interacted with some students who come up with an idea of a cardiac device. And these are the students, medical students working in government class. So there's a lot of interest and there is a lot of enthusiasm in young medical students and graduates in innovation, but they don't have any direction. So it's really, unfortunate to have you here and love your perspective. Enjoy your piece. Thank you.
Thank you, Deep, and thank you, Siddiq. I think I'm with wrong panel. Amazing speakers. I'm also a complete graduate from Ahmedabad University in Karachi, and I lost in what do I need to do, and I've always followed guidance and nuggets of wisdom from my wife. She's also a physician from Ahmedabad, and she went into elective in radiology and told her how exciting all this digital imaging is happening. That's what I decided. Okay, fine. She decided first, and then I do radiology. I trained in guys in system. And I thought I'll build my career in pediatric cardiac imaging. So clinically, I was the first person to ever do a fetal cardiac MRI in vitro in 2000, right? So I thought that's what I'll do. We'll apply for that. And then one day the bicycle was, there are 7 people in the world who care about the cardiac research. You go to this 10-minute IT committee meeting for 10 minutes, and the entire health system sings your song. Why are you resisting this? And it's like, I have no background, no education in this. And she goes like, why is that stopping you? So at that time in 2001, there was no informatics training program in the country for imaging. So that started a journey, calling every single chair to figure out how to do this training in informatics. Everybody said, no, nothing exists. The great idea somebody should do it, nothing exists. And so I gave up, decided to do body imaging fellowship, which was like another year of residency, basically. And then 3 weeks later, University of Maryland called, can you come and meet? We talked to the dean, and he's interested in talking to you. So I show up, and they said, well, that's a great idea. How about you come and start? It's like, problem, I'm on J1 visa, and can't really come and start a job without doing a waiver. So they ended up canceling their contract with the Baltimore VA so that I can come and join as a waiver and start first the informatics training program in the US. So that started the journey. And yeah, so guess what kind of patient doesn't exist in the VA? Pediatrics. And so when people get MR research, all died by accepting that job. And when I started my academic career at that time, machine learning, it was found because they had. So this is 2003. And the work we did ended up one day presenting some AI work at a large conference in radiology called RSNA, and nobody understood what predictive learning architecture for training large-scale data sets in 2007 meant. And one guy kept coming up again and again, and found out later he was CTO of one of the brand new groups in Microsoft starting on healthcare. And so they recruited me to start first healthcare AI team at Microsoft. And I kept saying no for 6 months. And by the time, Johns Hopkins was also recruiting me to come and run their Center for Biomedical Imaging Informatics. And that's dream come true. Go to Hopkins, follow Don's path there. And not those days, right? When that was happening. And then the Microsoft offer kept getting better and better. So left and joined Microsoft. And first day, the boss told me, like, you have 3 months to convince me that you should invest in imaging AI. And I was like, oh, damn it, I just quit my Hopkins offer and I only have 3 months job. And fortunately for me, that turned out to be really good. And 3 months into that job, I got a call from another team in Microsoft that was trying to do human anatomy recognition, but not for medicine. And they won't tell us what it's for. It used to be called Project Natal, which ended up being Xbox Connect. So my whole team pivoted from working on radiology to working on Xbox. And that's where eyes opened up. Like, how do you do software development in which you have 350 million users, 55 million daily active users? It needs to run 24/7, never go down for maintenance, and deploy software every 2 weeks in 110 countries in 33 languages. Nobody in healthcare does that kind of scale. And this is 2009, right? 2008, 2009 time. So working with NVIDIA at that time, figuring out how to do machine learning on GPUs, but nobody did that at that time. Building the architectures to do large scale AI in 2009, way before anybody else was doing it. Xbox Connect at that time was very successful. I think the first year did 11 billion in revenue. And then I got recruited by Microsoft Azure team to lead their large storage infrastructure and high performance compute teams. And I was like lost, like why am I here? Like, what am I doing? And my satisfaction of working in Microsoft was kind of going down as, you know, from every other metric, performance was doing great. Like, you know, we go from doctor in practice to running a 1,700 developer team doing 1.2 billion in P&L in 5 years. It was like insane. And that's when I realized that it's not hitting my inner why. So my inner why has become that I want to solve a problem that somebody I love is affected by and create a social impact at the same time. So at that time, I made a decision that I need to focus on that and build a target for myself and build a target that I will by the time I'm 60, I need to impact 1 billion people. So in 2012, I quit Microsoft to start a company called Higgy, focused on hypertension management. And didn't know anything about it. Didn't know anything about how to build hardware. Didn't know anything about hypertension. I'm a radiologist, right? So I remember my first meeting with Walgreens folks, and somebody said the acronym CPG, and I asked the question, "What is CPG?" And they all started laughing. CPG is consumer product good, which is every single item on the shelf in a Walgreens store. So Higgy was a hypertension management using a kiosk-based approach. Grew that to about 60 million patients on the platform, and then we exited in 2018. And fortunately, you know, with all the blessings everybody had, it really gave me opportunity to think, how do I impact next? And I decided to retire. And then 2 weeks sitting behind Pfizer in her meeting room, and it's doing back, but she calls backseat radiology. I was going to go find something to do, otherwise this marriage is not going to last. So that led to, you know, I initially decided to be on the board, invest in my former employees. So all the former employees of Microsoft and Higgy's, they want to start companies. So I focused on helping them start companies. But then the itch to how do I get to 1 billion people started. And that's when I got a call from another old colleague of mine, Jonathan Rothberg, about this crazy idea of how do we take a MRI scanner to the patient's bedside. So initial gut reaction was, that's not possible. Physics doesn't work like that. And then I couldn't get it out of my head. And the other thing, my problem, my inner why, 6 months ago, my mom had a TIA in Hyderabad in Pakistan, right? Guess what? Hyderabad size of Philadelphia, and there is no MRI scanner, right? So unfortunately, she did fine, everything was okay, but that anxiety that not having imaging, and she had to drive 2 hours to get imaging done was very terrifying. So I said, okay, fine, I'll do this, but we have to make sure that we launch this device in US and in lower middle income countries at the same time, which nobody had ever done for that kind of device before. That led to starting a company called Hyperfine, build a portable MRI scanner. We are now 6 in Karachi, 2 in Lahore, and 45 other in Africa, another dozen or so in India. So after US, Pakistan was the first country to get the scanner, then UK, then Europe, then everywhere else, then Australia. So that was one of the proud moments. Hyperfine went public on NASDAQ in 2022. And last year decided to go now to the next things. Now on a moonshot idea to do what's called a large vision language model, which is like GPT-4, but for medical imaging. It's a crazy idea, high risk, but if it works, it'll be highly rewarding. So we make a difference. Thank you.
I'm very inspirational, and Dr. Khan is just 3 doors down from me in Hyderabad, but unfortunately never met back then, but it was good to meet. So, I mean, the common theme you guys can see here is the why, right? So I guess what we are trying to again do here, especially these days, the younger physicians, especially people coming in from Pakistan, they're very tunnel vision, and all they are really looking for just into getting into residency. And if they don't get it, literally we have seen cases where they're devastated, and then it's hard for them to pick up and get back on track and everything. So this is exactly what we're trying to see. And each and every one of such an accomplished panelist here, nobody is practicing really just traditional internal medicine or something other than, Dr. Majid is, but still, I mean, he is into entrepreneurship and all that. Quitting a job, Dr. Vikas just mentioned, I mean, it is a big deal, right? I mean, who would quit their full-time job and then start something new at the career that they were? I mean, why? I mean, you heard from Dr. Khan, the most important thing is why. You should find out. I guess it's more important about finding out your passion, and eventually things will work out. So that's why we're trying to just give you an idea of people like at their stage of career. That's the whole point. They can switch over, do things. It's not the end of the world not to get into just residency. There are so many other opportunities, especially in this country and all across the world. So that's what we're trying to give the message. So moving on, I guess we'll again try to keep it more interactive. If anyone has any questions, you can raise the hand and we'll bring over the mic. But before that, yes, Adil, I think we do have a lot of questions from all of them. And also I would like to emphasize, like I said before, each of the panelists that we have, there's no way for us and for them to explain a whole detail in just 1 or 2 hour sessions, right? So we're gonna have a follow-up session with each of one of them, hopefully, inshallah, soon. We'll announce that too. But yeah, anyone has any questions, please raise hand and we'll move the mic to you. But moving to you.
Thank you, Siddiq, and thank you very much. So we do have questions from before that I would like to ask panelists in deck. And again, this is not meant to be an exhaustive session, because all of those topics are detailed, in-depth discussions. But I want to keep it more as an overview, like a 10,000 feet overview of what could be done and what could be achieved. With this, I would like to ask Dr. Irfan Majid a question. Traditionally coming from the private practice in internal medicine, there's interest in physicians who are finishing up their practices to open up their own practice. And you've been in private practice. Like, any suggestions, any advice you have for someone that is starting out and they want to go on their own and start a practice?
So absolutely. So, in the traditional American sense, a physician will come out, hang his shingle, any town USA, and do pretty well, Obviously, I come from Southern California. It's pretty saturated. I mean, 20 years ago when I came out, all my, contacts said, yeah, just hang up your shingle and you're going to do fine. But I guess I had an issue with that. I didn't want to work 7 days a week and so forth. So, it was more about utilization of resources and figuring out, like, okay, how to round and how to, make partnerships and stuff. And to be honest with you, I think, each of you have to decide what your journey is. There's someone out there, a lot of us are, okay, they're young, they're starting families, there's certain issues that they have to take care of, buying a house, repaying student loans, things like that. So there's different things. And there's others that are going to take an employee type of sense where, okay, let me work for a large company. I'm from California, there's no employed physicians, okay? There's only one entity called Kaiser, but even then, it's a different thing. For some of you in the Midwest and East Coast, are employed by large healthcare systems and things like that. But getting back to your question, I think one of the things physicians don't do in private practice is they don't learn the model. They know how to take care of patients. They know how to diagnose and prescribe and refer, but they don't know a lick about managed care. They don't know what per member per month means. They don't know. They never even read the Blue Cross book on referrals and things like that. No physician does starting out. I mean, and I always wondered that early on. So a group of us we figured it out. We kind of learned, hey, this is what the insurance company is saying. This is what I need to do. I mean, you ask most physicians at their first job and you just say, hey, what's your capitation rate? What are you getting? And they'll look, I don't know. The manager knows. Well, that's very interesting. Because you're prescribing and you're taking care of this patient, but you don't know a darn thing about how that insurance company evaluates the patient. So how are you going to be intelligent enough to do a peer-to-peer review and tell this patient that I want to refer her for a state-of-the-art multiple myeloma treatment at Sloan, right? And she's going to say, we don't do outside referrals. No, yes, they do. There's a way to do it. So I think one of my things, without taking too much time, is no matter what you do in clinic, you got to learn your system. Even if you're employed, you're a Kaiser physician, and I have a lot of friends in Kaiser. Kaiser has a complete training course. So they don't do any internal billing at Kaiser. Unlike us, we know all the codes. They don't. But Kaiser tells them, hey, listen, you need to do this, this, this. And every certain number of years, they have an extensive training course. And their physicians know their model of delivery of care. And most private practice physicians know. They know how much the rent is, right? They know how much they have to pay their managers and so forth, but they don't know much more about the delivery, and that's the issue.
So very well said, and I completely relate to that. I built a practice from scratch, right after training, and absolutely everything that he just said, that we need to understand how we get paid. That's the very take-home message. How we get paid from the insurances and the basic business of how to run a practice. With this, I'm gonna.
Yeah, thank you for the question. So, Mohit Raja on the intervention part of this is Missouri, one of the YPC coaches. Thank you for your time. So, I have a question from the past, right? So, that in COVID time, the telemedicine market exploded. So, like, I'm an early career physician. So, what do you think? What's going to happen in telemedicine, like in 5 to 10 years? And the other question is, do you think right now the market is too saturated for a new company or not? Idea I would like to open a new company, but might be able to join you as well, just to coach together.
No, thank you so much. So, I still practice. So, when I left just to continue on my story, when I decided to leave my private practice, I was a part of the group practice and became a partner. Obviously, it was a very stable, lucrative opportunity, become shareholder dialysis company and so on there. At that time, when I started this as a big, it's always a lot, but also, you have to have a bit of change. So I talked to my brother at that time, and I'll come back to your question in a minute. So said, we need to establish, and I have this idea to build this whole platform and then to differentiate telemedicine, because most of the people think telemedicine was a virtual consultation. But when you're sitting away from the patient, so like in another city, another country, in my case, it was my parents sitting, and my mother was sitting in my thinking, like, okay, my mother does not just need a consultation. Now, as a physician, I need to have, as a nephrologist, I need to have our blood work. Sometimes you order ultrasound, and then, they need to have a medication and so on. It's one platform where the physician doesn't know what labs are going to be near this patient. And he just orders it, and now let the patient figure this out where to go. How to create one strong, integrating ecosystem. So that one, I think the idea of telemedicine has evolved, because most of the people just think of just virtual consultation. So I started started an IT company in Pakistan to build this platform. In the meanwhile, I actually started going to senior living facilities, because if you're a specialist, also a specialist, are pretty much either in the hospital or in the home. So I don't know how many of you have idea to practice in the senior living facilities. Everything was like, all these senior living residents. If you could see them coming to your clinic, you have to bring ambulance to people are bringing, especially if they are, immobile, stretch out. So there's so much utilization that one solution can connect all of this. It's not just like patient at home, patient at senior living facilities. patients in the hospital, like rural area hospital. So it's all the implication of this telemedicine. The second part is the specialty base. You said cardiology, you need echocardiogram. You need those tech data. I'm a nephrologist, I probably need more with dialysis and all of it. So we kind of designed this, how can we have a one-stop virtual care in our institution to build what we call a virtual hospital and to then that can be interlinked, integrated with other EHR system and so on. So my experience running in when I went to start senior living, it is exactly everything was a paper mess, and what I always say now we have moved to digital mess. But the next move is where is a specialty, because there's so much need for a specialty. I remember in COVID, this was also like a startup, less of a startup also. I always give example, if you're starting a startup, think about how many use when you use your Google map. Because I'm going from point A to point B, you know your destination. Sometimes you may miss a turn. Sometimes you're not sure about the accident or road closure. But GPS basically reroutes it. So you're essentially, as long as you're clear on your final point, somehow you know that you will reach there. You just have to change the path, and you just have to believe you got there. We started, and so in COVID, this happened to us because in COVID, we built this platform, and as I told you, was invited by the United Nations, we built this whole program in Pakistan, and COVID came. Certainly, but it was actually a double-edged sword for us because at that time, we thought we built this platform as essentially a HIPAA-compliant whole ecosystem, and now governments said use Zoom, Skype, and everything there. So demand for the business side, demand for our product was essentially starting to decline. But luckily, there was an opportunity. Medicare said, we will reimburse for telemedicine. Before it was just for the rural area hospital. So we started our site. I remember one of them, all of this, he met me on LinkedIn. So, we have this platform, and you guys doing starting physician service in the US. And so I started, let's start this. And we started NeuroX Venture with my capitalizing my experience, what I was practicing in the senior living districts, we built whole design, whole technology platform for the senior living power in the world. And we started this, we got our contract with Telestroke, the hospital. That market became very saturated for sure, because it's like the large hospital around. There's all this when we got finished. We kept continuing on growing on the senior living districts and started this dementia here. And just recently, we got a very big contract with CMS to how the CMS is moving from value-based care, so like revolutionized dementia. So it's kind of just, I always love the story of Steve Jobs. You can't just connect the dots moving forward. Some of your experience will connect it. So in your case, certainly, if you have any idea, this is something that you can start. First of all, the market is very big. So you obviously will be kind of some forward successful. Second, as a cardiologist, is one of the problems here. This solution is not there. It is a small one, but this solution is not there. And then just focus on building that first, and then believing that this eventually will continue to grow and connect the dots. So I'm sure you will. Well, definitely we can talk more offline. This is exactly what we do. What we specialty to the idea, how to transform an idea into kind of a product.
Thank you so much, Dr. Vikas. I have a question for Dr. Adnan Haider. So we, in public health, of course, there is a lot of interest both from the physicians that are graduating or haven't done this. For someone who wants to venture in public, what advice would you give in terms of one, academic degrees, two, which direction they should pursue?
Thank you. The first point is that the direction should come from the inside. What are your passions? What are your interests that drive you to think about public health? Generally speaking, when I speak with young people, they have two desires: either to get research skill sets because they want to somehow or the other integrate that in their clinical careers. And a Master's of Public Health is a great degree to do that, with specializations in biostatistics or epidemiology. Second, those who really have true interest in public health and want to pursue that as either part of their career or the entirety of their careers. And there, I think in the modern world, which is this today, an MPH alone is not going to be sufficient for you to be competitive in that field. And that's where I think the alternative doctoral degrees that we have, either a doctor of public health or a doctor of philosophy in public health, is much more solid. I think it's incredibly important to understand that you can have public health be a part of your clinical career. Have a very fulfilling career. In fact, you can do that in health administration or hospital administration. As Dr. Majid said, you will get to know a lot about Medicare, Medicaid.
Options. That's all. Thank you.
It's actually extremely hard. Right? To be honest, it's terrifying to take that risk, right? So in hindsight, it sounds like, oh, I just had more, blah, blah, and it turned out fine. When you're doing it, you're in constant doubt, constant uncertainty, and you 99% of the time you're thinking you're making a wrong decision. And again, as Adnan also said, you don't have supporting spouse, supporting infrastructure around you. Even small comments, small things. And you guys were there when I was making that transition, right? So a lot of the folks sitting in the room have seen how it happened, and it is not easy. And you're constantly feeding imposter. When you're sitting there, you're constantly doubting what you're doing. And it's not even clear, like, in hindsight, I'm saying my why is so clear. When you're doing it in a young age, you say, you found out your passion. I'm like, I don't know what my passion is. Like, how do you do that? And then somebody gave me advice that practice something for 10,000 hours, and that becomes your passion. And enjoy doing that 10,000 hours worth of work. So I think mine, because as Arena said, is constant learning. So, I constantly read a lot. And this has become part of my life, my journey. That's all I do all day long. And that gives me the opportunities to solve problems and go across it. But it is extremely terrifying when you're doing it and taking that risk. Right? When you're seeing everybody else is doing fine and enjoying and relaxing and no issues, and you're here struggling to go through the process.
I have one quick for Dr. Coker. I think she's a prior engagement lead. Dr. Coker, if you could shed light perhaps on from both sides, if someone wants to make a transition to the industry and they haven't done residency, and the reason I'm asking this, there are a lot of physicians out there, both in the US and outside, who hasn't managed to, and they're looking for alternate pathways in the industry. So what advice you would have for one, the physician that haven't done residency, or secondly, someone want to make a transition out of residency into the industry?
No, thank you. That's an excellent question. So I think the first thing I would say is maybe coming back to what some of the other panelists have highlighted is think about what your why would be there. So even when we talk about industry or biotech or pharma, there's so many different career paths. There's so many different options. It's a whole world in itself. I do hardcore R&D, but there's medical affairs, there's safety, there's business, there's risk management. There's lots and lots of options. So folks who, are not doing residency for any reason, the first question is, still, why did you go to medical school? What have you learned from it? And how do you want to apply yourself? There's numerous options that, you can start off. You may not start off at a medical director level, but there's, many, many areas where you start off and you can build up whatever it is that you want to do. But the question still comes back to what is your interest? Are you interested more in the R&D side? Do you like designing clinical trials? Do you like working in risk management? Do you like the finance aspect of it? I've worked now with several folks, brilliant physicians, MDs. They did not do this because they, didn't get into residency or didn't get into fellowship. They're graduates, from Ivy League colleges here. They did residency, but they knew they wanted to do venture capital, but they knew they wanted to have enough language to be able to explain that. They manage, hedge funds, they manage huge portfolios, but they wanted that medical background. So there's several options. I know I mentioned earlier that this, to me at least, should not be like a fallback or something. Oh, I failed this or I failed that. But having said that, if for some reason, you cannot get a secure residency, but you do have an MD, you have a medical degree, you've been to business school, I would say, please network. Look at all the other options. I've worked with lots of colleagues, who are from medical graduates. did not do residency, but they're thriving. They're thriving in various roles in pharma. They're thriving in various roles in biotech. And there's many, many, many options. The only way is find that network, reach out to people, talk to them, understand their journey, and really think about, what your thoughts and what your goals are in that. I did also want to touch upon, Faisal's question, about, you're following, this path, which is uncharted, and what is the risk that you're taking on? And I would echo, what Khan said. It can be very, very daunting, especially, when it's not something that everyone else hasn't done. It's different. But having said that, I still feel that, the education that you have, the background that you have, the roots that you've built, they will serve you well. Even now in the industry that I work. So yes, I've made it to the C-suite. I work for startup biotechs, the highest, one of the risk areas. I still have a lot of anxiety, right? I made my company 6 months ago. We ran out of funding. We had to, merge with another company. But things go, life goes on. Other paths follow. I'm never really worried, am I going to have a job tomorrow? The thought really is, how do I serve whatever it is that I'm doing best? How do I serve my teams best? So there will be opportunities. They do open up, and there's several opportunities there. But it does come back to what your risk is. I don't have a family to support. I have a different risk profile than someone else. So you do have to think about that. But I do think in this country, especially, if you have a sound foundation, which I think all of our medical schools, be it here, be it from Pakistan, gives you a very sound foundation, and you have a lot of paths forward. You just have to, have a little bit of faith in yourself, and then maybe a trusting spouse or backup plan there, and then just go forward.
If I can add, for those applicants who actually don't match, I serve on the board of the University of North Florida at the college that started with those programs, the MBA healthcare, as well as now there's a more portfolio for the MBA healthcare IT. I mean, as you see in the healthcare system, a lot of jobs, a chief medical officer, CIMO, chief information. It doesn't necessarily need to be kind of board certified position for some of those. And of course, you can, start and do, doesn't have to be a director level. But it's a great opportunity that if you can actually get into some of those master's programs, of course, MPH is one, but if you're more focused on the healthcare side, the healthcare administration and the healthcare IT administration, I think is a huge area with a lot of growth opportunity. And to answer your question, I think you're absolutely right. You got to have a gut feeling and then, passion. I mean, you can't take that risk without having, a deep passion and just to believe. And just the same thing like you just said. Then, all those things you believe. Moving forward, you don't want to have regret. Probably should have taken that risk. See, if you're happy with of course, there's no need to take a risk. Or if you're, too many responsibilities, family, and things. Of course, there are a lot of people when you look back and say, they could have done much better. But then it's also your luck. But I think if you have a passion and then you are in a kind of a risk, I would call it mild to moderate, go for it, because then you can always, especially if you're a physician and that you can always have a backup somehow. That's where I think it's the best innovation will likely come from that approach.
Can I ask Dr. Faiz, if you can elaborate more about, especially, going non-traditional way, doing all the fellowships that you had without a residency training and still being able to practice in US, Canada, and wherever. So if you can please elaborate a little bit more on that.
Thank you so much. So, LG Abdul Kalam, India ka president tha, the only Muslim president India has ever had. He famously said, dreams are not what you see during sleep. They are the things that do not let you go to sleep. What a beautiful way to put it. Comfort zone, nothing grows in the comfort zone. That is why it is called growing pains. So you have to be comfortable with discomfort. पहली चीज, दूसरी चीज जो आपने बात कही, आप अगर देखो तो हिस्ट्री दुनिया की देखो तो 1945 में 6 लाख यहूदी कत्ल कर दिए गए थे. आज वो दुनिया पे राज कर रहे हैं. It takes one generation, just one generation to change the world for the better. आप जर्मनी देख लो, जापान देख लो, World War I में absolutely annihilated. Within 50 years, bounced back. World War II completely annihilated. Again 50 years, फिर G8 में है. So this is why I recommend academia to people, because the only way you will change the world is by being policy makers, by being decision makers. I was offered a job in ProScan by Steve Pomeranz, and the starting salary was $1.2 million. I did not take that, and I took a job at Emory University that paid me 1/4 of that money. And everybody said, "Are you insane? Are you crazy?" But as Steve Jobs said, people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are usually the ones who do. So, practicing in Europe 9 years, I practiced in Europe 9 years, I practiced in US, and then 9 years now in Canada. Nothing was the same. Licensing body was different. Jurisdiction was different. Geography was different. The way medicine was practiced might be the same, but reimbursement models were also different, right? And so I wasn't kicked out of one place that I was forced to leave or go in exile. No, it was always by choice. And the decision came because I wanted to be comfortable with discomfort. And then when I started the book projects, leadership book projects, my father actually has always been supportive. And I said, I want to write about leadership and equity and inclusion. And I've done manuscripts and now I'm writing books. And he says, I have this idea. But for somebody who already does not have a good job, not for you. So when I said, I'm going to write books, everybody said, उर्दू में कहते हैं सारा गांव मर जाएगा तुम चौधरी ही बनोगे सब मर भी जाए तुम्हारी बारी नहीं आएगी but it's persistence and perseverance. Alhamdulillah, now my book is actually included. It's a book on politics and leadership, and it's included in the curriculum of South Asia schools all over the world. And this book is taught, and examination is held, part of the examination based on this book. So you have to take the risks. Nothing grows in comfort zone. I hope I've answered the question. If not, please ask again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I just add one thing? So I just wanted to add, just to underscore what Nashmia said about networking. It's something that we don't necessarily, I feel like we don't do enough of. And you're not alone. So the examples you gave, the Japanese and Israel, they are also very tight-knit communities. The beauty of Pakistan is very diverse. That's all. There's like more than 80 languages in Pakistan. That's also some of the challenges. And so really kind of think about who's your tribe, so to speak, and who's your network. And you don't have to always be the doctors like to be in charge. You can humble yourself, go to the growth mindset that Khan was talking about, and just learn skills.
Thank you. Dr. Khan, a psychiatrist from Virginia. So one comment and one question. Comment is, it seems like AKU is really teaching us something other than medicine, that a lot of you are from AKU. So there must be an entrepreneurship course or something that AKU is teaching. So my question is, most of you, it seems like that almost all of you did the residency first or fellowship, working as a clinician, and then went on other routes. My question is that, would you have done it? Would you still do it if you had not done it? So it's always like Dr. Vikas said, that there's a safety net that if it doesn't work, I can always go back and work as a primary care physician, as a radiologist. That's the question is, if you had not done it, would you still do it? And that brings the second question, that someone who has not been able to secure a residency or a fellowship here in the US, how can they approach? Because it starts with very basic questions. If I want to take admission in MPH or Master in Health Administration, someone sitting from Pakistan, how would I do it? Who would pay for that? So stuff like that. So that's my main question. Thank you.
I can start with that. And actually, on networking, I just had a quick comment, and I see Habib Jadani back there. So Habib, hang on one second. This is on the importance of networking and how it comes together. So when I was thinking of joining pharma, I actually had no idea. I'm like, do I go knock on doors? What do I do? I was talking to people. I was networking. So Habib's older brother Rashid Chitani was not in pharma, but, had a lot of connections, and I was speaking to him. And one day he just forwarded an email to me. He's like, look, this recruiter has been calling me. I don't know what this is all about, but talk to her, right? So I just looked at the email, and it was a recruiter for J&J. And I will say that is how I got my first job. So that is the importance of just networking, letting people know what you're looking for, and people will genuinely want to help you, right? And so please don't be shy and reach out. If they don't answer once, reach out again, maybe not a third or fourth time, but reach out, and people will generally want to help you. So I just remember that story when I saw Habib. But, coming back to your question, which I'm actually blanking on, what was your question? Oh, why is AQ so awesome?
That was a comment. The question is that if all of you had not had that clinical safety net to fall back, would you still do it?
I can start, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of diverse answers. So actually, I'll point to another person who's here in the audience. This was Namita's advice to me: do your residency, do your fellowship. Don't stop. Because again, as I was searching, for what I want to do, outside of clinical medicine, personally, for me, I would not do it any different. I think being an oncologist really, really is essential for what I do in day-to-day life. Having spent time in a lab working as a postdoc also gave me the skill set that's really, really important. Having said that, though, I don't think those are prerequisites. Yes, I would do that. The only thing maybe I would do differently is I would have gotten on this path maybe quicker, sooner. But having said that, I would not change my residency or my fellowship training, given what I do and what I really like to do. But I do think that there's other ways to get to wherever it is. And again, I also looked at doing other fellowships. People were advising me to do a clinical pharmacology fellowship because, again, uncharted borders. What did I do? I spoke to people. I spoke to people in industry, and they said, absolute waste of time. Don't do it. So I'm really glad that I stopped there and said, now I have all the skills that I need. The rest I have to learn on the job, which is exactly what happened.
I would like to answer this question with what Rehan just said. So, so I'm from Dow 2005, and of course, mashallah, they do phenomenal entrepreneurship. But it's not about so much about from the med school, I would say. It's about the appetite for risk and how much driven, and especially networking, of course, a big part of it. And risk, it's always like this that in that what we have to do, right? And I would briefly share, like I started my practice right after training. And I came from a very humble background. I have basically nothing to kind of bank on. The only thing that I had to bank on was my wife, especially right here. And that's the biggest blessing. I give it all of them. And essentially, I think the point that Dr. Coker mentioned, networking is the key, but how to network? And this is a message for the young physicians. So how to network? So I was fortunate to be in the Boston ecosystem. I did my MBA from there, from Babson. Make a group of people that I can rely on, that are embedded in the community. Then understanding how the business works, how we get paid, who is the middleman, and then understanding the system really well in a way that you're able to take that risk and utilize it to your benefit. But in the end, we all have to, I'm a big proponent of private practice, although I teach as well at different places. I think we all have to realize this, that in the end, as physicians, what we have is invaluable. What I always tell myself, what's going to happen, what the worst can happen. If something fails, I'm still a butcher, but I get a job somewhere else. And there is a big country. So I think that mindset and that attitude is very important. I think young physicians that are going to listen to this afterwards, I think it's very important to realize and have that attitude that we can do all of these different things that could be done, and that, mashallah, so many accomplished people have accomplished, throughout the career.
So, I think right there, can I kind of expand on the same point? So, obviously, very heavy AKU panel, and we see often AKU folks are the ones mostly in academia and the leadership and all that. So, there's definitely something good happening there. Now, the resources that you guys might have in Aga Khan would not be the same. For example, I went to Hyderabad, and when I was thinking of coming into doing USMLE, I did not have anyone 5 years above me or below just find out how to do all these kind of things. The two volunteers yesterday, Abdul Kareem and Tasadduk, they are from Chanka, from Larkana. I mean, how many people come from Larkana and to even attend here? There's a kid, she just texted me earlier today, she just came from Pakistan just to attend this conference. So coming to networking, and if you're not from a medical school where you have a huge, big alumni of network, like, getting the electives and all that, how to get to this networking and how to build those connections?
I think that, I know I am from APU, so I probably shouldn't be answering this question, but I would say that when I came in 2000, I didn't have a network. I just went online and looked up, labs, and I just sent out letters and said, could I come work for you? I think what you said was so spot on. You go to you find the watering hole, you go to the ecosystem. Anybody can get on LinkedIn. LinkedIn has everybody's resume essentially on it. You can look at where they went, go to where they go to their talks, right? So I'm sure other people have other things, but I'm happy to be available afterwards as well. I have like almost 250,000 followers on LinkedIn and 4 times the top voice. So if I can help you all with your LinkedIn game, I'm happy to.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously the safety net is at that given time. Of course, we all, became doctors, and then we started thinking over what can we do next, right? So then you start building a assembly plan and all the options there. So I think every step you take at that line obviously has something you eventually, so let's say at safety net at that time for me, or I could take the US assembly and spend 2 years, but it doesn't work. That's fine. I probably just still work in Pakistan. I could have gone there. Same thing, I think, when you come backstage and now we came over what to do next. So I remember, this is another big question about a freelance physician asked, and because you're going to residency, hospitalist job is such a lucrative one, right? You say, fellowship track, another 2 or 3 years, and what do you think if I become endocrinologist, infectious disease oncologist? A lot of this question, you still make a lot of money working in hospitalist, 1 week off. I did that, for while I was in the transition phase. So ultimately, it's about your passion and see how those people who have really made a difference have come. And to Faisal's point, I think one of the fundamental things which I also, we have now 90 people working in our IT office in Pakistan. I see them not as 90 families. So at some stage, you're making a contribution. And when you start looking at the back in the history, why when you talk of Israel or India, how they have come so far. Why we are such a good thing is at least in Pakistan, I think probably 3rd or 4th largest physician communities there, right? All have great academia, whatever private capacity, good making money and also there. As a nation, I deal with these people because now I'm on the policy making for this digital healthcare at Capital. A lot of them, these people, I study them. They really make differences because that mentality of making the nation, I think it's always their priority. Also, they don't mention that, they say that, and this is where I think the big difference it came from us. When India, for example, they started sending this lot of PhD folks in 1990s. So it's an Ghana when, unfortunately, it probably may become political, but when Zia was opening madrasas, Rajiv Gandhi was opening tech institutes, all of their folks came to Stanford and all the sector, and they joined these big companies, and now we see they've done. So you can't complain. It's a nation, they deserve it because they work hard. So I think this is where the hope is that with our young population, this point up, what you can do best. So I remember starting this, one of my chacha said, yeah, which way khade ho na khel karo. Kahin na kahin aap bhi aur koshish karo. Now, it may be a bad luck day or something there, but you just have to keep going and see if somehow you'll not do playoffs.
We have a question from audience, I think.
I have a question. So it doesn't really align with the goal of the panel today. But my name is Mariam. I am a 4th year medical student at Caribbean School, and I'm applying for residency this year. And like you guys said, your innovations are part of the system that we should learn. How do we get involved in what you do? Because I feel like that would be so helpful for us. And
So thank you. I think this is great internships. So, if you're looking for, obviously there's there's a way if you want to go for obviously a path, if you want to go for residency in academia, so you talk about do the research. So you need to choose what's your goals. Like, say you want to be an academic or some specialty, then obviously you would like to go with the, do an internship at a big ME institute. So let's say if your goal is, I love technology and innovation there. Definitely a company like us can, help us to kind of be part of that internship, because we do have, medical students who are essentially interested in this. It's not just like on want to get clinical experience, essentially learning that alternative pathway also. So obviously, I mean, that's where, companies like us or others, people sitting there can certainly help, and I'm happy to talk to you more about that.
How many have watched the movie Godfather? Yeah, most have, So when you connect with people, you've got to make sure you make them an offer they can't refuse. That's what I do. So, I get almost 200 emails a day. People asking for elective, remote research, mentoring, all whatever, you ask, especially as an IMG. Always keep in mind how you're going to add value if you're given the opportunity. Most of the times I get the story of third world country, not enough opportunities, not support, not finances, married, divorced, single mother even, all those stories. Now, you are carrying your sad sack on your shoulders, which only crushes you. If you keep it in front of you like a book, you learn and grow from it. But if you write an email like that, which I get every day, then how many can I carry on my back? Maybe 1, 2, 3. At the fourth, the back will break. So when you write to somebody, people are more than happy to give opportunities. But if your question is not right, the answer will never be correct or accurate or right. So you always state what is good about you and how you will add value. And that is when people will be responsive. I hope I've answered the question. And that Godfather, by the way, was a metaphor, so don't literally take that.
So I think that's so spot on that how are you going to add unique value? If you have this sad story, what is the learning you have from it? What is the unique grit or insight or skill set that you bring? But then also, like you had just said, right, about just like the vision and, so paint a vision for like, of all the people who are asking for help or asking for the internship, if you are given this opportunity and this skill set, what is the vision you have? Right. So I feel like in Pakistan and in Asian countries, we're always like we're expected to be humble to our elders. And that's a very good thing. I don't think that should go away. But yes, and also paint a vision for the future you envision for yourself.
I want to say something very simple. As a fourth-year student, engage, get involved, become involved with the YPC, other networks, learn from everyone. I think the biggest thing that I can see, like you're just observing and listening. Listening is very important. And learning from all the experience that's there and the opportunities pop up, networking happens. The other point I want to mention, why. Why is very important. And challenging the status. That, you can, things, if something is been done for like 20 to 30 years, it doesn't necessarily mean it's right. So that would be my very recent kind of input. And
also, can I add here, Adil? So I guess the way I look at it, so for example, if I was at your stage or whoever stage was applying or in a medical school or something, I'm looking at these flyers and first thing I'm going to do would, for example, Google Dr. Rizwan there, Dr. Khan Siddiqui, who he is. And if that particular, his interest lies with my interest too. I mean, right? He's big in AI. He's big in pharma. He is an entrepreneur. He's big in research, things like that. And that fits to kind of my, goals. And then so I do my research before coming into any sessions like that, right? And then make connections and see what they are talking about. And then start from there, building the connections from there. You send them an email now, I'm sure they will read, they'll reply, because now there's a way to connect that you listen to them and you're interested into what they have been doing. You did your research. Now just going and introducing yourself and you have no idea who these people are, who he is, who Adil is, who I am. and just saying, just help me out, like, yes, but like I said, ask the right question. Just that's would be the best way to connect. To first find out, who are you connecting to, who you're trying to connect, what they do and what they are.
I think a lot of people have talked about networking, and up now, especially the YPC forum, we have the Facebook page and the X account now. So, and on that, we have had numerous posts where at one point we actually started declining those. That the first thing is you have to ask, you have to stand up for yourself and ask questions. The main thing we were getting is anonymous posts, asking for a friend. Why won't your friend ask for him or her own self? So these things, I think that it also comes from the cultural background we are all from. Hiding stuff. One thing that we all need to realize, it's not high school anymore. If you have taken 270, just for example, a score, people should be happy for you. If they're not happy, then it should not bother you. So if you are doing an elective somewhere and you ask questions about the accommodation, do so with your own meaning. No one will steal that elective from you. So that's what I think that forms the basis of networking, that transparency. And then it's I think very valid point raised by Dr. Khurram is that you have to ask right person the right question. I am a psychiatrist. I get messages all day and all night about getting surgery electives, internal medicine, cardiology electives. And it's just like I send an email to Dr. Kosa to arrange my meeting with Barbara. So things don't work like that. So you have to ask right people, right questions. And now we are so lucky that we have so many forums for networking. For pathology, we have PAPS. For psychiatry, we have APPNA. We have APPNA YPC that combines all of it. So I think that whenever you ask someone anything, you research about them, you pick a top. Every person likes something. Like people here like some like AI, some like robotics. You have to ask that person question. It's a human nature. If you ask someone, like I like interventional psychiatry, I'm into ECT, ketamine and stuff like that. If you ask about those things to me, then I would be more inclined to give you a response, rather a positive response in a quick amount of time. Thank you.
I have a question for Dr. Hansidiki. So this is more from the innovation standpoint, but the audience is the students that are sitting in Pakistan, like the medical graduates, like our people. If a student or graduate that's really interested in innovation, what advice are you going to give them? How they should pursue it? Which direction they should move?
I think, so let me think, frame it properly, right? So I will start with the same thing, right? First of all, make sure that your inner why aligns with what you're trying to do. There are 6 things that make any kind of entrepreneurship successful, right? Number 1, finding why. Number 2 is understanding the problem better than anybody else. Right? So what are you trying to do? Why are you trying to do it? And then what you're trying to do, right? So really understand the problem really, really, really well. Number 3 is the people process culture, right? How are you going to do, you going to work with? It's entrepreneurship can be a lonely journey if you make it lonely. Right? Who are your mentors, right? One of the most common things I see in our, especially our basic community, is we don't have enough mentors. Somebody gave me this advice earlier on, and like, why don't you have a mentor? And I was like, what do you mean? It's like, there's nobody else doing what I'm doing. That was the response. So it's like, who's the best basketball player in the world ever been? It's like Michael Jordan. Why did Michael Jordan need a coach? That you think Larry Bird would beat Michael Jordan in a game? Like, no. So why did he need a coach? If he can need a coach, then everybody needs a coach, right? So really, really important how people are option. Number 4th is obsessing over user experience, right? Who are you doing it with, what you're trying to solve, and how you're trying to solve it, and make sure you understand how it's going to impact the end person at the level and at the patient level, right? It's like even if we are working on something that is more of a back-end technology, never going to sell it to the patient directly. At the end, a physician or caregiver will use it to take care of the patient. You really understand how that's going to happen. So obsession over user experience is another one. The last 2 that I think about is start thinking of scale first. Humans think linearly, right? So you like, okay, fine, today I have 1, tomorrow I'll do next LF, 4, and that's a very slow growth. You have to think about how you're going to go from 1 to 10 to 100 to 1,000 to 10,000. And that's the scale you need to think about. So how do you think about scale on day one? And last is, if you're trying to do innovation, it's great to do a lot. I get a lot of calls and they want to do something good for Pakistan and can I build a low cost something like that? It's like, but where's the business? Right? You can't have mission without margin. Right? So what's the go-to-market strategy? I think those are things that I'm thinking about, but obsession with problem. If you don't understand the problem yourself, no matter all the other ingredients won't work.
Can I just add, when Han is giving pointers, please take notes.
Yes.
That's exactly what I was doing.
Dr. Khan,
I'm adding something to that.
Sure, please.
And I second that, I cannot emphasize enough. When you write to somebody, look them up. The most beautiful sound for anybody is the sound of their name. Don't spell their name incorrectly. That's what I get all the time. So half of the emails almost I get every day, it's my name is spelled wrong. I can tell you haven't, whoever wants me to be their mentor.
Dear sir or madam.
Dear sir or madam, exactly. Not only that, but sometimes it's just they write to me and my name is mentioned Latif Khosa. So I sent it to my father. I forwarded it to my father. The email, I'm like, this is for my father, not for me. But that, and how can I mentor somebody or take them under my wing or sponsor them and support them if the least that they could have done is get my name right. And most of the times it's not addressed to me as dear madam sir or they call me Mr. Latif Khosa or Dr. Latif Khosa, and that's, you're setting yourself up for failure. Thanks.
Kind of expanding more for the audience and especially the applicants and what Dr. Khan mentioned, mentorship. This is what we're going to be trying to do this year to have one-to-one mentorship for the applicants, for even the medical students, and also college and high school students here in local US who wants to get into medical school. This is something we're going to be starting soon. So again, Dr. Faraz Alam is going to be leading the mentorship committee. We'll start with a pool of mentors and people who would like to sign up as mentors, and then we'll connect to the mentees. So just keep a lookout for those on the YPC page for those such opportunities. Dr. Khan, I'm sure you've been asked this question very frequently about this AI, completely going to replace, the human beings and all that. Next 10 years, how do you see that in healthcare, especially?
So I think of it from job speed point of view, right? So let's go travel back in time in 1900. Ford was building Model T car, first car coming out, right? There used to be a job to be done of somebody that will come pick you from home and take you to a restaurant to go eat. The tool they would use was a horse carriage. The skills they had on how to take care of a horse, how to clean the dung, and how to give this horse straw and water to feed, right? That was the skill set. Job was take you from home to restaurant. Today, million-fold more people do the same job using an app and a car. Skill is driving, putting gas in the car and cleaning the car and learning a little bit about how to drive. Horse carriage, we also know how to drive, right? So it's really basically the same job, but now different tools and technology to do stuff. The job not going away. The other thing to think about, what job did exist in 1900? Somebody taking from home to the airport. Do you imagine people in 1900 even knew, even imagine what that would be? Anybody even thought of it? Nobody seen an airplane before. So how could they even imagine airport existing? Right? I guarantee you nobody even thought there would be something called airport where people will go and then fly out from, because nobody even thought airplane exists. We are in that scenario right now. We don't know what the new things will be coming out because of AI we'll be doing, or adjacent to AI that will be happening. So we can't even imagine what are the things physicians will be doing right now. But the job to take care of a patient will always exist. And if you're moving with the tools at that time you need to take care of the patient, you will thrive and survive. If you're still trying to polish up how to clean dung from the floor, you will not survive. That's how I think about it. There's no replacement of taking care of patient. You could take care of patient. Nobody's going to replace that, right? So, like, how do you do it is the question. Just to answer one more previous one, right? Let me give you an idea of networking. Then I'll give you an example of books that will help you. One is called Super Communicators by Charles Duhigg. That's an awesome book. Every single thing you've heard here, it talks about it. How to talk, how to email, how to network, all of that stuff. Other one used to be an older book called Art of Schmoozing. That was my first book, and I learned how to do this stuff. But that'll give you a better idea on how to think about it in a more structured manner.
Thank you. So, capitalizing on that AI, I mean, I'm sure you all may already have heard that proverb, you know, AI will not replace doctors, but doctors who use AI will replace who don't use AI. Obviously, I think this is definitely the moment where, I mean, it has just taken so how, you know, the Google transformed the search. I believe that this is going to change the way the work is being done. Certainly job guarantee would be there because more like kind of the core doctor, like you essentially legally, you cannot just say that it's an AI who essentially, someone has to be for the patient care. So anytime innovation comes, healthcare is always the last sector because it's a regulatory, industry, regional, and all those things there. So definitely there's still a big, you have this threshold, the safety net, which is good. But ultimately, what's going to happen? A lot of these jobs, like medical assistant, we're already talking like the front desk, so all healthcare related jobs. On the physician side, where we see the AI essentially is being used now, making informed decision that, you know, like we all use our brain as an capitalizing on the physician specialty. I mean, I can talk my nephrology side, okay, labs, medication, what to make adjustment there. What AI will eventually tell, okay, based on this already, you know, given an alert that this the gene should be, and now you just signing off. Other big areas of essentially capitalizing, like when you are essentially admitting a patient in the hospital, or sometimes you're obviously going through all their previous medical history, even like, you know, or in the EMR system there. It's kind of just like a one click and essentially giving you summary. How accurate that's going to be? Can you miss something? Of course, you know, you can also miss while reading something, right? So these are I think they were going to be more and more focused on efficiency, and then they will be going towards utilizing that, decreasing the cost.
I have a question for Dr. Fosa.
Yes.
So, you know, people are members that are interested in purely academic career, and they want to pursue it like 100%. What advice would you have for someone who's starting in terms of, you know, how to navigate the career, with what kind of job they should look for, and in terms of ground some of that, please?
So sky is the limit in academia. But I would like to extend that, you know, it's not the increase in the artificial intelligence that is worrisome, it is a decrease in the human intelligence that is worrisome. Academia, you know, as I said, I have no experience in academia. In 10 years, I published 290 peer-reviewed manuscripts. And in equity, diversity, and inclusion, in all disciplines, whether it was surgery, gynecology, pathology, microbiology, you name a discipline. And so there was, all you had to do is, number one, have a mentor, as all my colleagues emphasized, and then to have a passion and a dream, and just follow that. And you will be told, Sara gaon mar jayega, tum chaudhary nahi karoge. When you are passionate about something which has not been done before, everybody is going to come and shake you up. And how resilient are you? That will make or break the difference. And then like-minded people will sort of congregate. They will align towards you. And, you know, goals are like magnets. The bigger and the more powerful the magnet, what does it do? It attracts, exactly. So then rather than you striving towards the magnet is actually doing the work and pulling you towards itself. People don't fail when they aim high and miss. People fail when they aim low and hit.
I think
Hope I've answered the question. Please go ahead.
And then for AI, I would just say that keep in mind that there's something, because people talk about how AI is eating its tail, and particularly when you talk about generative AI. So generative AI needs to generate. The generative AI needs substrate. And so if you're familiar with statistics, there's regression to the mean. So to your point about the kind of big and low, the high and the low are getting equalized. So if you are unique, you have a unique voice, you have unique expertise, you have a unique way of looking at things. As you know, Khan said, if you're really obsessed with one problem and you're able to come at it over and over again from different angles because you're just obsessed with like that, solving that problem, that will differentiate you. So I don't think I've heard that word yet. You need to differentiate yourself. How are you unique? What is your unique story and your passion? That some people are just like, well, Paul English is somebody who's been a serial entrepreneur. He's also bipolar. He acknowledges being bipolar now that he's been successful. So I would say one thing to be careful is that yes, as much as we might say, tell your story, be authentic, all of that, some of the self-protection is not wrong. You do have to show results before you show too much vulnerability. But I would say that, yeah, so just, but he talks about sort of, he has many ideas, right? But then also, like, people have talked about their spouses. Personally, I would love to have a wife. I think wives are wonderful. They do so much. I'm kidding. But regardless, for instance, the only way that I got through medical school in Pakistan is that I befriended the most studious girl and I assigned her, come to the hostel every day, and I'm not allowed to say I'm still sleeping or whatever. I'm going to the hostel. Albeit she studied, I got up and went for chai, I got up and chatted with this person, but I got through med school, right? And so even now, so yesterday I ended up having a long meeting. One of my angel investors is willing to be my fractional COO. So to Khan's point about the people, the processes, all of that. So I realized that she and I have we're complements. She's been in quality and safety, as have I, but she's like really belongs there. I am in quality and safety because I know that I can mess up. To err as human very much applies to me. So I love systems that support human beings not making errors, or that if you make an error, the outcome still works out. But so find your tribe, find your people, find your complements. And I think I've just lost my point. So hopefully it still makes sense.
We're just winding up right now. I want to request our panelists what one single advice they want to give the younger listeners.
I think resilience, right? So a lot of us who are high achieving are perfectionists, which is a sort, often you have a negative and you self-flagellate, oh, I did that wrong, I did that wrong. Develop an ability to have kindness and compassion towards yourself with accountability. So to Khan's point about like growth mindset, I did this wrong, acknowledge it, be honest. How can I improve this?
I would emphasize going into academia, because the only way you will make policy conducive for your own people, for your own country, is by being in the position of influence, and that is academia. Otherwise, whatever else advice, I totally agree with that. But I have seen, I was at Beth Israel, I was at Harvard, she was at Harvard too, right? We were together.
Yes.
And somebody who came with low scores in USMLE, I knew many from Haifa University in Israel, and they were straight away accepted into radiology, accepted into neurosurgery, accepted into plastic surgery and dermatology. Why? Because all the department chairs and all the program directors were somehow related to Israel, whether it was religion or whether it was graduates from the same university. So I saw that left, right, and center. Why can we not do it? And it takes one generation. It took them one generation. In Second World War, 6 million were killed. Now they control the world. We can do the same. Thank you.
Yeah, I think excellent advice from everybody here. I think one thing in young early physicians, don't be afraid to experiment. It's just because it's your first job, it's not going to be your first job for the next 40 to 50 years. You know, traditionally, physicians would go out and get a practice or get to work, and that trajectory would take them there. You know, the average Physician Society of Hospital Medicine says that someone working under 10 years has already had 4 jobs in the hospital world and other things. So please, don't be afraid to experiment and honestly do what's right for you and your family. Because there is a comfort zone that you're going to need for a long time. Thank you.
Yeah, I always say my favorite one: success comes with those who believe in success, and it comes with 3 P's: patience, passion, and persistence.
Well, the two things I would add is, especially for, the young physicians, residents, graduates, first of all, you've made it here, you're here in the US. If you come from Pakistan or Ghana, wherever, you're at the Gaylord, you're fine, right? You did a lot of things right and you're doing just fine and you will be fine. So that's number one. The second thing I would say is, and I'm still working on it and I wish I'd started doing this a lot sooner, is please stop comparing yourself to others. That will never, ever serve you well. Do compare yourself to yourself. Try and be a better version of yourself. This maybe even goes to these anonymous posts and this whole concept, of nazar lagna or this, that, and the other. Please, let's just stop that, right? You're not competing with anyone. Everyone's life, as Sultana mentioned on social media, looks beautiful. Everyone has a struggle. Everyone has a journey. But your responsibility is to yourself. So please, let's just stop comparing. Oh, so-and-so got into Harvard, so-and-so got somewhere. Or, yes, get inspiration from others, their journey. Absolutely. Look up to folks, reach out to them, but stop comparing yourself to others. You are your own unique person. You just want to be a better person than you were yesterday or the day before, whatever that means to you.
So start thinking what I'm going to say, and I'm being said what I first thought. And then everybody's going to say pretty much everything else. Then I'll tell you, I'll just second what Nashmia said, right? The fact that you're here or still on Zoom and stayed for 2 hours here, you're way ahead. Look at all the students applying next year or getting into medicine. You're 0.0001% of that, right? So you're way ahead of everybody. Just first realize that. Number two is it's a journey. It's not a hard journey. That is the journey, right? There's no such thing as bumps in the road. That is the road. There'll be days you'll be excited, happy. There'll be days that feel like, oh my God, what the hell am I doing? But you just go through it, right? Just remember that is the road. So there's no such thing as a bumpy road, and you will go through that.
Let's get started here. So, and just have, I'll take one comment from the audience and one more questions which have been asked just now a couple of times, and to Dr. Coker, just very basic one, and obviously we're going to expand on more later on. Pharmaceutical, without any additional degree, are there opportunities? I think you mentioned it before, obviously, but we can just highlight very briefly about it. Just MBBS and then just knowledge. Are there any opportunities? One, and the follow-up is especially for women, moms. How is the work-life balance? Is it pure corporate, and what sort of options?
Yeah, no, both great questions. So I think for medical students who graduated, who have a medical degree, yes, there are absolutely opportunities in what we call the pharmaceutical industry. And as I alluded to earlier, there's so many paths, right? And there's so many career options within that industry. Having basic medical knowledge, having a medical degree, there will be lots of options. Lots of options for entry-level position, but lots of options to then learn the language of the business and move up. So absolutely. From a work-life balance perspective, and I'm going to leave this, gender neutral because I think it applies to men and women, to fathers and mothers. There's a lot of hard work. It is different from clinical medicine. Yes, you can carve out your hours. Having said that, I mean, I work remotely. I just need a laptop. I can work anywhere in the world. Do I have to work on weekends? Yes, absolutely. I have to work on weekends. Not all weekends, but occasionally it does come up. But you can control your hours. You're not on call. You're not going to be called in the middle of the night. There are areas within pharmaceutical industry where it's a more 9-to-5 job, where it's more predictable. So I think those are also avenues for people to explore. They require a lot of motivation, a lot of work, but yes, your day is more structured. You provide a lot of skill sets that others cannot. I think being a safety physician is one of them. And a lot of our medical graduates are, in pharma that do jobs in safety physician as that role. It's very much 9-to-5. Rarely would they get called in on weekends. And there's, many options. There's some options that require a lot of travel if that's what you like to do. But yes, there's numerous opportunities for folks that are, medical, that have just graduated or that have done residency or that have done fellowship.
Thank you. And just a last comment from everyone. It's a comment.
Hi, assalamualaikum everyone. I'm Neelam. I'm a dermatologist here in Washington, D.C. And I just wanted to say this was a phenomenal panel. I was here for a portion of it. I had to go and came back, but I think every single person and the bits that I got on private practice, AI, investing, non-traditional, traditional paths. I really hope everyone in the room can give feedback to APPNA, because I think this is the first time that I got so many pearls personally. I'm 4 years into practice, and I feel like no matter what stage that you're at, like the wisdom that was given by these panelists was really phenomenal. So I hope, inshallah, we can continue to do more of this. Thank you so much for putting this together. And that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
And if I can add just last comment, thanks for putting great effort there. And we've all sitting here because of our roots in Pakistan. So I think whenever you do something, whatever we do there, I think if that is something that everything we're doing here is making a difference there, I think that will definitely change.
Thank you. Right,
So thank you everyone, our attendees and panelists. It's a great session. Personally learned a lot from it. And thank you again, Siddiq, for for making it happen. And I want to make a quick announcement. At 2:30, there is another session here for how to get into the fellowship. So please come and join the session too. And thank you again. Thank you the volunteers as well and our panelists.
So yeah, I will conclude again. So thank you, of course, to all the panelists, the audience, and coming back to our original, like how we started. This is something definitely very new. This is the first time we have arranged something like this, and we would like to keep it, moving forward. We'd like to keep more and more of sessions like this. And then the whole point of what we are trying to do is just bring some more audience and shift the focus of now from just the social and cultural things that we do, which are great. We all love it. That's why we are here. 4,000 people are going to show up tonight. So yes, definitely this is good. But we also would like to include sessions like this, where obviously this is good for our personal growth and networking for everything. So I really deeply appreciate all of you guys, taking schedules, and I know many of you just viewing just because of this one particular session. So we really appreciate all of your efforts, and thank you so much, everyone.
I want to make a quick comment here. I want to mention one thing. The impact of this, because this will be recorded, and the audience is pretty large. So I want to really emphasize this point that the stories that are shared here would be inspiration to a lot of students and graduates in Pakistan. Thank you.